Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about the biggest mistakes that I've made in my comic book collecting career. A lot of these stem from unrealistic expectations that I've had during my comic collecting journey. So specifically when I'm dealing with dealers, and whether that be comic shop owners or dealers at these conventions, these people are not necessarily in the customer service industry. They are selling items. So they're making my experience important to them is not really high on their priority list. So what that led me to do and to feel is that I was being taken advantage of, or not respected, especially considering the amount of money that I was spending. This was the wrong way to go about it. So some of the biggest mistakes are going to these people thinking that I'm going to sell to them or I'm going to trade my comics to them, thinking in my head these people are also collectors. I've talked about this before on the channel, but many times these dealers and comic book shop owners are not collectors. They are in the business of making money, and they're in the business of selling collectibles to collectors like myself. Going in there and thinking that I was going to get good prices for my books when I sell them, or that they were wanting to trade with me like a card shop or a card dealer at one of these card conventions would do, was incorrect. I should not have been thinking like that. As far as selling books, there's a million other better ways to do it. And going into some of these comic book shops and realizing that a lot of these guys, if it's not a certain type of book, if it's not a certain type of key, or if it's in not a certain type of condition, they don't have any interest in it because there's no value in it for them. And at going to these conventions, with how much money these guys have put into their booth, they're not really in the business of buying things. They are in the business of selling things at that convention. The next mistake I feel like I've made is buying runs or trying to complete runs of comic books. I have several runs that I have tried to work on: Incredible Hulk, Fantastic Four, Amazing Spider-Man, and X-Men. Specifically the X-Men and Hulk runs that I actually like, and then Amazing Spider-Man and Fantastic Four stories and characters I don't necessarily care as much about. Completing runs is kind of an act of futility if you are ever going to sell your collection. And what I mean by that is, so many people, if you are in the business of selling your comics, those people do not want complete runs. Dealers, shop owners, a lot of other collectors are just interested in key issues. Completing runs, you have massive amounts of comic books stored in your home that if you're not in the business of reading that story and you're just collecting it, I would not recommend it. It takes up so much room, so much space, and if you ever did need to sell it, it's so difficult. And that brings me to my next mistake that I've made, is thinking that in order to be a comic book collector, you have to also be a flipper. A lot of other influencers and comic book YouTube personalities have really kind of pushed home that make the hobby pay for itself mindset. And what they're saying is you sell books, flip books to get the books that you want, which is a strategy for sure. But there are many people out there, like I'm sure that you may be one of them watching this video, that just collect things for the sake of collecting, or you're collecting them for nostalgia, or you collect the things that you really, really want. This game of the flip and buying collections to sell what you don't want to get what you do need, it's an exhausting thing. It's a stressful thing, and especially if you have certain things that you want and you're tied to those emotionally, and if you needed to sell them, it'd be very difficult. And then all that stuff you don't care about, you're just trapped with this stuff that you don't actually want. So this idea that you have to be some sort of hybrid collector slash seller, I think is a huge misconception. And if you're really not into that part of it, I would really not recommend it because it's a lot of work. The next mistake I have is obviously grading comic books. grading comic books is extremely expensive, and grading comic books should be exclusively for books that are either very rare, very old, or something very, very special about them. Grading comic books has kind of been a trend in the past few years that you put just about damn near anything in a slab. And I've talked about this before on the channel, but everything does not need a slab. I have graded so many books that I regret slabbing because I never get to look at them again unless I crack it open, or I've put this in a case and now it's worth less than what I slabbed it for. So it's a big waste of money to slab anything and everything. Just slabbing the specific key issue books, rare books, old books, books that have a chance of deteriorating, those are your best bet if you're going to slab anything, which I'm quickly becoming of the mindset that I don't really want to slab anything anymore. The next one is just my personal preference, but buying new comic book day books. New comic book day is a fun thing. It's exciting to go to your shop, support your local shop, be with other collectors, have those discussions. That is a very enjoyable thing, and one of my favorite channels of all time is Glenn from the Comic Book Palace, having that banter. But holy cow, is it a time sink and a money sink. If you are not reading these new comic book day books weekly, it gets out of hand very quickly, and you have a backlog that you will never realistically ever read. So new comic book day books are a horrible investment from a collecting perspective, and also just a time sink and a resource waste, in my opinion. For somebody like me who wants to read the complete story all at one time, or just does not have the time to read all of these new comic book day books, or don't like to wait a month or 2 weeks or 3 months or whatever it is, you oftentimes forget what the story is. New comic book day books are not for everybody, and really I think they are for a very small niche community. The next one is consolidating your comic book collection and doing it sooner rather than later. So what I mean by that, and I've kind of already touched on it when I've talked about runs, I've talked to so many collectors, specifically ones that have been in this for a long time, and they all say the same things. They say they wish they could just get 1 or 2 short boxes and that be their complete comic book collection. And man, I am understanding that, because to have 1 or 2 great boxes, books you love, books that are super valuable, books that are awesome or rare, books that mean something to you, into 1 or 2 short boxes, man, that's worth so much more to you than having a room full of stuff that you don't even know what you have, or a room full of stuff that is just dollar bin type fodder or worse. Having all these big runs, having all these new comic book day books, having all these books that you've bought from a collection, and just piling them up and having, numbers over, quantity over quality, I think that's something that you will kind of regret and wish that you had gone for the quality over the quantity at the end of the day. All right, the next one I regret is trying to time the market, or trying to buy key issues at completely the wrong time. Now, for me, and for maybe a lot of you watching, if you got into the hobby at the COVID time, that was the wrong time to get into it, which, it is what it is. We're past that now. But even now, like trying to time it, to time buying a key issue with the movies or with the shows or with a new series or run that's coming out is an exercise in futility. Just buying what you like, and just buying the key issue that means something to you, and not trying to time the market is the best way to go about it. There are definitely wrong times to buy key issues, though. If you are buying a key issue and it is around the time that a character is coming out in a movie, and it's around the time of the teaser trailer specifically, that is the wrong time to be buying a key issue comic of a first appearance or some major key book. The best time to be buying key issue books is when, after the movie has come and gone, or that character has kind of died off from the zeitgeist, that is the time to be buying those kind of key comics. And my last regret is buying so many omnibus and not buying trade paperbacks. So omnibus are great because they collect so many issues, and specifically usually a whole run of comics altogether. The problem is they're just incredibly heavy, they take up a significant amount of shelf space, and they're just really not that great to read when you're trying to relax and lounge with a comic book. The beauty of a comic book is it's lightweight, it's, you can read it anywhere, laying down, sitting up, wherever. A trade paperback is kind of the best of both worlds there, where you have multiple issues compiled into one, but you have that lightweight nature of like a normal book or a comic book. Omnibus some do hold value, or some do increase in value when they go out of print, but buying them as collector's items is not a great idea. These books often get reprinted, and for specific runs, specifically if they're not a run that is well loved, good luck trying to get your money back, or even getting half of what you bought the omnibus for. Guys, these are the problems that I have encountered. There's obviously a lot of other issues that I've had with my comic book collecting, and a lot of these bumps in the road and these things that you'll encounter, a lot of these you'll have to just experience for yourself. You have to go through the school of hard knocks. Your comic book collecting experience is going to be different than everybody else's, but if I were you, I would recommend following these rules, because take it from somebody who wishes they had done it different. I wish I would have done it different. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If at any point in time you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like this video, subscribe for more. Take care.